Roy had come back to life 139 times. Every time he died, he woke up again on the same morning. He relived everything about that day, so he knew every single detail. On rebirth number 139, he woke up, ducked to avoid a knife, stood up, put on his shoes while dodging another attack, stood up straight, and then leaned over to dodge once more. He knew every move this assassin would make, the exact timing, and the angle of every strike. He could dodge the attacks effortlessly, blocking the knife using only his t-shirt. Roy poured himself a cup of hot coffee, took a sip, and waited for the assassin to get up, then threw the hot coffee directly into his face. Next was the attack helicopter. A second assassin on board would fire a Gatling gun. Roy hid behind a column, knowing the first burst of bullets would kill the first assassin. Exactly 8 seconds later, the Gatling jammed. Roy stepped out and threw a knife, planting it right in the gunman's head. Once the assassin fell, the Gatling gun malfunctioned and its bullets slowly drifted to the right. Roy simply followed the trail to walk away safely. Honestly, Roy had no idea why people were chasing him. He only knew the helicopter would crash into his room in 8 seconds, and its blades would fall 13 seconds later. Oh, and one more thing. The helicopter exploded at 18 seconds. He jumped out the window, falling perfectly into a garbage truck. You probably don't know this, but Roy missed that garbage truck 22 times before. Once he landed on the street and was crushed by a truck. Afterward, Roy stole a sports car. Since he kept coming back, he no longer cared about the laws. The driver of the car screamed the same phrase every time, but no one helped him. Roy also grabbed the driver's sunglasses. Then, the third wave of assassins appeared, a pair of armed sisters. Roy had to escape fast. They had killed him 14 times before, but it wasn't just these two. In a single day, Roy faced at least 7 waves of assassins. He had been blown up by the bomb maniac, Kaboom, twice, killed 3 times by his own clone, and had died 8 times at the hands of the swordswoman, Guanyin. Roy had killed everyone else at least once, but Guanyin was too strong. She always appeared out of nowhere, decapitating him with a swift strike. Afterward, she would proudly say, "I am Guanyin, and I have done this." Sometimes Roy managed to escape all these assassins. Guess what he did then? He didn't even try to find out why they were hunting him or investigate the mystery behind it all. Instead, he would go to a bar, ask the bartender for 2 bottles of China's strongest liquor, and drink until he lost consciousness. He had tried to fight back before, but there were too many assassins, all of them too strong. He had never lived past 12:47 p.m., so over time, he simply stopped trying. Roy actually had a pretty good idea of who had put him in this endless loop. It must have been his ex-wife, Gemma. Gemma was a top-level physicist at Dino Labs. Just yesterday, Roy had visited Gemma at her lab. She seemed very nervous. She pleaded for Roy's help, but didn't tell him exactly what she needed. When he wasn't paying attention, she secretly cut a lock of his hair. Then she said, "I hope you stop wasting your life, pull yourself together, and become the man you used to be." Roy had been in the special forces before, but after leaving the army, he had nothing to do. Middle-aged and aimless, he went into a downward spiral. That's why Gemma divorced him. But now, for some reason, Gemma had given him another chance. Oh no, it wasn't just a chance, it was unlimited chances. Roy had tried to call Gemma, but instead, her boss, Colonel Ventar, answered. Ventar said, "Gemma is already dead. You're next." So clearly, Ventar was the one behind everything. But Roy still didn't have the motivation to defeat Ventar because every day was hell mode, and he couldn't even pass the first level until his 145th resurrection. Roy hid in an underground shopping mall. By pure luck, he saw his son Joe. Roy hadn't been a good father. He hadn't seen Joe in a long time and felt guilty about it. So he decided to talk to his son. When he took Joe out of the underground mall, he suddenly noticed it was already 12:50. It was the longest he had ever survived. Why hadn't the assassins appeared during that time? Then Roy realized something. There was no cell signal underground. That meant he had a tracker implanted somewhere. At that moment, the assassins appeared, closing in one by one. Roy's first reaction wasn't to run. Instead, he turned around and hugged Joe tight. But it was already too late. All the assassins fired at once. Bullets tore through Roy's back. As he died, Roy looked deeply at Joe. This death didn't end in pain. Instead, he saw surprise, sadness, and love in his son's eyes. And for the first time, Roy felt truly happy. Rebirth number 146. Roy grabbed the assassin tightly and demanded to know how he was being tracked. But the assassin was tough and refused to talk even in the face of death. So Roy had to find out for himself. He went to see his friend Dave, the counter-surveillance expert, and asked, if someone implanted a tracker in a human, where would it most likely be? Dave said, in the teeth. Suddenly, Roy remembered the attractive girl he met the night before, a dentist. During their date, she took Roy to her clinic and worked on his teeth. Roy ran to the bathroom and began pulling his teeth out one by one. For every tooth he pulled, he took a shot of strong liquor. The pain was incredible. Finally, he found the tooth with the tracker. From that day on, Roy could predict the assassin's predictions. He used that tooth as bait to lure them in one by one. Then he ambushed them and defeated them easily. After beating all the assassins, his next target was Ventor. Ventor was at Dino Labs. Roy drove straight there, accelerating at full speed to smash through the entrance. Instead, he hit a wall, crashed, and died instantly. In his next rebirth, he tried again. Roy drove his car in at high speed. There were more than a dozen heavily armed security guards. But Roy wasn't actually in the car. Instead, he had placed explosives, blowing the doors off the security checkpoint. But he didn't expect the head of security to suddenly appear at his side. Fine, try again. On his third attempt, Roy killed his assassin clone. Then he disguised himself as his clone and used his ID card to sneak into the building. He entered the elevator, going up to the top floor. Inside the elevator, an armed guard asked for his card. Roy swiped the card and discovered he didn't have authorization. The big guy killed Roy immediately. Fourth attempt. Roy entered the elevator and immediately shot the guard first. But when the doors opened, a group of security guards was there with guns pointed. Roy quickly shot himself in the head, shocking everyone. Fifth attempt. Roy killed the guard again, but then noticed a security camera in the elevator. No wonder the guards outside were always waiting for him. Sixth attempt. Roy disguised himself as the guard from the start, finally avoiding camera detection. He reached the hallway but found Guan Yin, the swordswoman, waiting there. Roy had a gun and she had a sword. It was obvious who should win, right? But Guan Yin moved like lightning. Bullets couldn't even touch her. She cut Roy's gun in half and then, swiftly, cut off Roy's head. Rebirth 152. Roy brought a machine gun and fired rapidly at Guan Yin. She still dodged every bullet effortlessly, stabbing Roy in the stomach and decapitating him again. Rebirth 153. Roy took a rifle but still couldn't hit her, and again he lost his head. After dying more than 20 times, Roy finally understood that guns wouldn't beat Guan Yin. He needed a sword. So Roy sought out Dai Feng, a Chinese Wudong swordmaster who had been world champion for 12 consecutive years. He pleaded with him to teach him how to sword fight. Because Roy was genuinely sincere, Dai Feng agreed. They began practicing empty-handed, pretending their fingers were swords. Roy was hit hard by Dai Feng. When practice ended each day, Roy would kill himself and start over. Gradually, he began to understand the art of swordsmanship. Soon, he leveled up to a wooden sword, but he still took beatings. However, little by little, Roy's stance and strikes improved tremendously. On his 174th rebirth, Roy managed to defend himself against Dai Feng for a few moves. After countless rebirths, he finally reached the point of using real swords. After only 7 moves, Roy defeated Dai Feng. Roy respectfully thanked Dai Feng and headed back to the Dino Labs facility. There, he faced Guan Yin again. Roy calmly set down his gun and took a sword from the wall. Guan Yin attacked quickly, but Roy stood firm like a mountain. In 2 moves, he cut a lock of Guan Yin's hair. They continued fighting. Roy put his left hand behind his back, using only his right hand to wield the sword. This time, Guan Yin stood no chance. Repeatedly, Roy's blade grazed her throat until he finally defeated her. Then Colonel Ventor appeared, a white-haired old man, not particularly good at fighting. Roy quickly subdued him. In pain, Ventor finally realized why Roy had become so powerful. It must have been his ex-wife, Gemma, who had activated Dano Labs' ultimate technology before she died, the Infinite Reset Machine. Ventor originally planned to use this technology to rule the world, but to stop him, Gemma had made Roy the guinea pig. With a wicked smile, Ventor revealed, "I also sent someone to kill your son, Joe." It's probably already too late to save him. Roy panicked. He immediately finished off Ventor, jumped into a car, and raced to save Joe. But he arrived too late, finding only his son's lifeless body. Roy realized that despite countless rebirths, he had never managed to save his son. He completely broke down. How could he fail so badly as a father? At that moment, a massive explosion erupted. In the distance, the Infinite Reset Machine had overloaded and exploded, destroying the entire city. Roy revived once more. He had lost all hope in himself. Every wasted minute of his past life had led to today's endless tragedy. It was all his fault, so he stopped fighting and allowed the first assassin to kill him. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. He died, he revived. He died, he revived. Until this time, Roy suddenly stood up again. He wanted to make things right. He wanted to pull himself together, just as Gemma had once told him. Roy went to see Joe, the son he had never spent time with. He talked to him, played video games, and bought him snacks. When the city exploded, Roy would simply reset the day and spend another day with Joe. Little by little, Roy began to understand his son. He discovered the joy of being with Joe and gradually learned how to be a father. Until one day, Joe mentioned something surprising. His mother had called him that morning. Roy suddenly realized that Gemma was still alive. Every morning, he still had a chance to save her. Roy rushed back to the lab. After taking out Ventor and his men, Roy looked at the security footage. He saw Gemma being killed at exactly 7:14 a.m. Roy revived every morning at exactly 7 a.m., which meant he had exactly 14 minutes every day to save Gemma. When Roy revived again, he raced against time. He jumped into the helicopter and ordered the pilot to fly directly to the lab. He arrived at exactly 7:10. At 7:12, he used the Gatling gun to take out all the assassins in just 10 seconds. 2 minutes later, he burst into the lab, clearing out enemies in his path. Just before Ventor killed Gemma, Roy shot Ventor first. Roy had done it. He saved Gemma and defeated Ventor. Gemma hugged Roy tightly and whispered, "I knew you could do it." Wait, the world wasn't completely safe yet. The machine would explode soon. Gemma said the only way to stop it was for someone to enter the core of the machine. But it was a huge gamble. The person who entered might disappear forever. Roy looked at Gemma and thought of his son Joe. He was no longer the broken man he used to be. Now he was a husband and a father, someone willing to sacrifice everything to protect his family. Without hesitation, Roy stepped toward the machine. He entered its core and was swallowed by a blinding light. The screen faded to black.